Cars now steer themselves through our cities. Robots hold steady hands in the operating room. And drones are redefining the future of war. Innovations of first-generation humanoids, factory automation, and autonomous vehicles have surged from private sector investment. Every one of these advancements is powered by AI. The robots are here. Our future is no longer science fiction.
Happy Bitcoin Friday, freaks. It's your host, Odell, here for another Citadel Dispatch, the interactive live show focused on actionable Bitcoin and freedom tech discussion. That intro clip was none other than our First Lady, Melania Trump, talking about the robots being here. I could not find a Bitcoin clip I wanted to use for this week, so you got her instead. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, Dispatch is funded by our audience with Zaps, with Sats, Bitcoin donations. We have no ads, no sponsors. You can find all links to the show at citadel.cash. The easiest way to support the show is through Zaps on Nostr. Our largest Zaps last week were Trazen, Ride or Die Freak Trazen, Trazyn, saying another amazing rip, 54,000 sats sent. Thank you. And Ride or Die Freak Map 21, great rip, 10,000 sats. And you can also support the show through podcasting 2.0 apps like Fountain Podcasts. Largest app over there was BTC's Shelling Point with 21,000 sats. Said moving the needle. Excited to see this in my hands. Since last week at Primal, we have launched live streaming support. So now you can watch and interact with the show through the Primal app on web, Android, and iPhone. On iPhone, we have a small glitch where you can only chat if you zap. So even if you just include one sat, you can add a comment in there. We do have an update in the works, but it's got to go through the Apple Store. So hopefully that'll be out soon. It wasn't intentional, although I'm kind of liking the idea of sats for chat. So we might make that a setting where streamers can choose how many sats are required to chat in the live chat. But anyway, I see Super Fat Arrow here, Zap, 21,000 sats, Freedom Tech for the win. And by the way, guys, just real quick on the Nostr live streaming, it's an open protocol, it's an open standard. If you stream, you can still view the stream in Zap Stream. Any streams that are started in Zap Stream, you can also view in Primal apps. Any other app that supports it, like Nostr or Amethyst or Nostrudel. All these apps support the streams. You can also self-host your own streaming server, and Zapstream Primal and all these other pick it up. It's really, really cool. I think we're like on the early stages of coming after Twitch and X and YouTube. I'm really excited. But anyway, freaks, we have a great show today. We have Egge here, maintainer, creator of npub.cash, a tool that I absolutely love, working in the Cashu ecosystem. How's it going, sir? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm good.
You see, we got this guy must be an iOS freak. He just zapped us one sat. Really, thank you for moving the needle and really supporting the show. It keeps me coming back week after week. I want to start. We can talk about a bunch of different things. He's not even an iOS freak. He can chat without sending a sat. So thank you for sending the sat. I want to start with your project npub.cash. I mean, I think it's awesome. I'm a user. You can zap me at odell@npub.cash. What is it? Why should people care? Let's start high level.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so npub.cash, the idea basically is a Lightning address for everyone, based on Nostr and Cashu. So if you ever like had a different Lightning address, you know that it's like you need a web service of some sorts to like host it, right? Usually that is done via a custodian. That's probably where most people get their Lightning addresses. You can do it yourself, but you require like an LNURL server. It's a bit of a headache to set up with a personal like private node on Tor and stuff. So when I started working on Cashu, the thing that I love the most, and also Nostr, is the thing that I love the most about these two protocols is like everything is public infrastructure, right? You don't need to do your own stuff. You can do your own stuff, right? But like with relays out there, with that don't require like you to set up something yourself. You could just communicate with them, and Cashu has the mins. You can just communicate with them without having to set up something yourself. You can use public infrastructure to just build things. So I was like, okay, maybe we can build a Lightning address on that. And turns out we were able to do that. So that's basically npub.cash. It's a Lightning address that does not require sign up. It just is based on your Nostr identity that uses Nostr public keys and private keys for authentication. And if you have a Nostr account, you have an npub.cash Lightning address because it's your npub at npub.cash. Is already your Lightning address. So if I know your npub, I can zap you and you can redeem the sats later on.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the coolest part is that basically anyone who has a Nostr npub immediately has a corresponding Lightning address with zero setup. Like
Yeah.
they can figure that part out later. If you just zap them there, they will eventually be able to go and get the sats and redeem the sats. I think it makes it way easier. I mean, I think anyone that's been active in the Nostr ecosystem has seen the pain point that is, how do I get my first zaps, right? Like, where do the first zaps come from?
Yeah, that's also kind of the origin story of npub.cash a bit. So before we got started building npub.cash as a standalone thing, I was still working on an Nostr client. It was called Current. It was early days. So we built Current as a half custodial thing. So basically, there was a inbuilt Lightning wallet that was hosted by us that was custodial, and because we always felt like, okay, if you onboard new people to Nostr, that was always the goal of the project, to like onboard people from other platforms to get them over to Nostr. And Zaps are one of the main reasons to do that, because Zaps are just amazing. But then you need to provide some like simple interface to, like, even if people don't understand what Bitcoin is, right, they still should be able to like kind of use it without having to set up a lot of stuff. So our first solution to this was custodial. But that was a very bad solution, obviously. First of all, because it's not the thing that we want to do, and second of all, because it's just such a headache going through Apple. For example, when you build a native app and you have like a custodial wallet in there, Apple's like not going to be happy about that, or it's like very difficult to get Apple happy. So that was when we thought, okay, maybe we can build a non-custodial Lightning wallet with LDK, other stuff in our native app. But then you get the challenge, well, how do you do the Lightning address? Because that's, again, like one of the key things that is required on Nostr to have the most fun, right? You need a Lightning address because Zaps build on Lightning addresses. And that's kind of where the idea came from. It was during Sec1, during the Primavera, the Atlantis conference. And yeah, so that's where the idea came from. And then Current kind of went away, and I was like, okay, this is still a great thing, and we should have it as a standalone service for anyone to use. And I think the main vision back then was, hey, Nostr clients, you should probably use this as a default. Today, what I see most use is Cashu wallets using it as a default, and be like, hey, you have a Cashu wallet, and now it also comes with a Lightning address. So, for example, Cashu.me has npub.cash in it, Sovereign has npub.cash in it. I'm currently rewriting enuts. Enut's going to be gonna have npub.cash in it as like the way of like using or having a Lightning address for a Cashu wallet.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, I love Cashu.me. And my understanding, speaking with Callie, was it was relatively easy for him to implement the Lightning addresses using npub.cash. So let's talk about real quick, like, so it's using Cashu on the back end.
Yeah.
And the cool part about that is my understanding is you're not actually the custodian for npub.cash, right? It's using mints run by other people.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, like, there's some nuances to this. First of all, there's like two.
Yeah, let's explain the
Yeah.
nuances.
So right, like in the base case, because the mint is the real custodian. I mean, it also depends on like how do you define custodian. With the base setup, that
Right.
is like the most compatible setup. npub.cash, the server, is in possession of the Cashu proofs. So it
Okay. It's holding the bearer IOU
yes,
tokens.
exactly. So it is not
Got it.
technically like the mint is still the custodian, but like npub.cash is the next in line custodian.
Got
Then
it.
with
Okay.
Cashu, there's pay to public key, for example, where you can like lock tokens to a certain public key. So whoever holds the token will not be able to redeem it with the mint without actually signing for it as well. So with that, npub.cash can actually like not be in the next in line custodian anymore, basically. So if the token is locked to your
Got it.
public key, even npub.cash couldn't spend it. And it's actually very good for npub.cash as well because it's not in honeypot anymore, right? The database is basically useless to an
Right.
attacker. There's even more nuance because now there's npub.cash, which is the nightly version of npub.cash v2, basically. The reason why we build it on a different, or I build it on a different domain, is because obviously I didn't want to break it for people that currently use it. But there's the experimental npub.cash that works in a completely different way. Like from the outside, it still works. It looks like the exact same thing, but on the inside, it is actually not even creating tokens, cash tokens. It is just like creating a mint quote with the mint. So basically requesting an invoice and then storing the secret that is used to redeem that invoice with the mint. And then a Cashu wallet can actually go there and redeem the token themselves.
Wait, so what is that domain? npub.x.cash?
But there's no front end. So yeah, and npub.cash. But if you, for example, if you use cashu.me, it's already in there. You can scroll in the settings. You can scroll all the way down to experimental. You can enable it there, and then you will have two Lightning addresses for cashu.me, and npub.cash, and then npub.x.cash. And the cool thing about npub.x.cash, I mean, it's really mostly cool things for people that run npub.cash, because the first version required the service provider basically to run their own Lightning infrastructure as well, because it would like mirror invoices and like proxy invoices and like watch.
So you're for standard npub.cash, you're running Lightning
Well,
infrastructure.
I'm using Blink. That's pretty common knowledge. So yeah,
Got
I'm
it.
using Blink. So
Okay,
basically,
yeah.
when you pay a Lightning invoice, if you pay an npub.cash address, the invoice that you receive is not the mint's. It's Blink's invoice, because I can use their
Got
API
it.
to see when it's paid. And then I go to the mint and get an invoice of the same amount and stuff like that. And it was like mostly complicated stuff that like I kind of, it's like the easy way basically of doing it, because you didn't need to pull them in. Payment state is very easy. Blink does all that for you. But it required you to have a Blink account if you wanted to self-host npub.cash. And I think self-hosting npub.cash is the thing where it gets really interesting, because now a Nostr client or a Cash wallet would not only give you the opportunity to have a default Lightning address, but you could also pick the provider. So basically, if you hosted your own npub.cash instance, you could like give out Lightning addresses running that service, and then in the wallet app, you could just like,
it could be like npub@citadeldispatch.com,
for example, right? Everyone, and so npub.x.cash
Yeah.
is literally just it's just a web server. So it has like a Docker file, and you can run the Docker file, and then it's there. It doesn't require any infrastructure. It requires a database connection. It's not written for SQLite yet, but like other than that, there's no Lightning, there's no whatever. It runs on multiple mints as well. So that's a cool new feature. You can like choose your own mint as a user. So yeah, it's the way better version of npub.cash. And I hope at some point we'll be able to merge
It's
it.
basically like npub. Yeah, it's like npub.cash
Yes,
2.0.
exactly.
But you're running it parallel so that you don't break the existing user flow or
Yeah,
whatever. And because people have balances and you're just kind of stuck a little bit,
well,
right?
yeah, I mean, like I have migration plans. The API just looks very different. So I would kind of break people that implemented npub.cash if I would just merge them or like migrate. So the idea is a slow deprecation. It's a lot of like communication with people as well to see if they upgraded and when they upgrade, and then it's well, we kind of front ran a little bit. Like I didn't really think about a lot of the stuff. I didn't think it would like pick up so much speed as well. So
Well, I like that. That's the
yeah,
way. I mean, right now, just to the freaks that are participating in the live chat, I have the Primal mobile app open, and I'm looking at the chat there, and it's not exactly the same as what is the Zapstream chat, which is being shown on screen. So some comments are being shown and some are not. My guess is it has to do with relays and where the comments are being sent and which relays Zapstream is pulling up. But I like figuring out things live. Like I like experimenting, iterating out in the open, trying to figure out how things work. And I think that was one of the coolest parts about npub.cash for me, because it was just like, yeah, is it perfect? Like, no, it's not perfect. Maybe one day it'll be close to perfect, but it works. Like it just works. It works today, and anyone can just easily just receive
yeah,
zaps. So one of the issues in terms of building in the open and iterating, one of the issues I noticed as a prolific npub.cash user that zapped a lot and received a lot of zaps. By the way, people are like, "Oh, Odell, like you're like swimming in the zaps. You get so many zaps, blah blah blah." Like the number one thing I think to receiving more zaps is sending more zaps. And my net is I'm way down. I'm down bad, guys. Like this is the most expensive free app experience I've ever had. I think I checked the stats most recently. I'm like down like 5 million sats or something. Like it's $6,000 spent on Nostr. But as a receiver of many zaps and many low value zaps, when I try and redeem on npub.cash, it's like I have to tell my wife, it's like, okay, you watch the kids. I'm going to go into that room and then I'm going to scan like forever. I'm just like, or copy and paste. Copy and paste is a lot quicker when you do it. So copy and paste forever because it comes in like smaller and smaller chunks. Why does that happen? I know, but like explain to the freaks why this happens, and does npub X solve this?
yeah, okay. So it happens because whenever so with the first version, whenever you receive a payment, the server will mint a Cashu token for you, and that has that denomination. And
Right.
when you
So if I receive like 10 sats and
yeah, so
zap, like I'm getting a 10 sat Cashew token at
yeah,
that
so
moment.
so you can think about it a little bit like dollar bills, right? There's just like with Cashu, there's like fixed
Right.
denominations of stuff you can build. So if you receive 10 zaps, 10 sats, that will be a 8 sat bill and a 2 sat bill mushed together in a token. And these like single denominations are what are being stored in npub.cash. So if you, after a week of like heavy zapathon, come back to npub.cash and want to like redeem all your stuff, it's gonna be like a lot, like 8 or like 16 or whatever, like sized SAT denominations. And that's all data. And it doesn't fit in a QR code at some point. We were like, I was worrying about like even like API response sizes and stuff. Like if there's like a certain size that like exceeds, it's gonna be
Well, like why can't we have? I'm sure there's a technical limitation, but like why can't I just have like a set redeem all button?
well because it's like I would so it redeems like 200 of these like single builds at a time. That's what it does because
Yeah, so I'm like a super edge case,
yeah,
right?
you are.
Is my
Yeah,
situation.
I mean, like there's a couple others in your boat that I've heard this complaint before, right? It's one of them.
Like Gigi's probably in there
Yeah.
too.
So
Maybe
to
Callie.
the second question, whether the second version fixes this, it well, it makes it better. So with the second
Okay.
version, we changed from minting tokens, so we're not like limited by the proof denomination to like what we call in Cashu the mint quote, which is basically the paid invoice or the proof of payment, basically, or like so what happens before minting, and that's not like restricted by the denominations. So if you have 21 sats, for example, it's not going to be 3 things that you're redeeming. It's still going to be a single one. Doesn't matter like what amount it is. It's always going to be a single one, but it's still a single one. And that means if you have like 1,000 zaps, there's still 1,000 things you got to deal with. There's going to be a protocol level fix to this, because it's something in Cashu that we thought about a lot. If people want to like do a lot of what we call minting, and they always, so basically you can always do 1 mint per HTTP request with a mint. And we thought that's kind of a limitation that doesn't need to be there. Let's create something called batch mint. And once we have batch mint, npub.cash or like npub.x.cash is literally going to change to like, doesn't matter how many how many sats, how many like different zaps you received, you're going to click one button, it's going to make one call, and it's all there. That's the goal.
One call and it's going to make 1 token?
Yeah. So, it's going to make 1 token. It doesn't matter this.
One big token. Like if I receive like 10, if I receive 21 sat zaps, it creates 1 token. That's 210.
Well, the cool thing about npub.x, the cool thing about npub.x.cash, it leaves this decision up to the client, because the server doesn't actually like choose the denomination. It just like stores the mint quote. So the wallet that implements npub.cash can actually choose the denomination. So if your goal is to have 1 massive token, you can get that. But if your wallet's like a little bit smart and maybe wants to optimize its local proof storage for better payment flows and other stuff, it can even like mint smaller things and choose denominations and optimize its own coin selection by that. So it's really, really like adjustable in that sense. It leaves the decision 100% up to the client.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a limit. There's the limitation that you're putting right now on npub.cash of 200. Sorry, this is a little bit over my head, so I'm just trying my best live. The limitation. By the way, freaks. By the way, if you got to this point, you're like 22 minutes in. You're like, what the fuck am I listening to? You can just go to npub.cash. If you have a Nostr extension, like my favorite is NoS2x, and you have your private key in that extension, you just press the wallet button, and your wallet will show up, and you will just be receiving zaps in there. It's super easy. Then you press the redeem button, and you can pull the sats out of the wallet. Super, super easy. That's the cool part. We're just diving deep here, and that's why it sounds really complicated. But the cool part is, if you're not technical, it's actually quite simple. It's quite simple to do. And also in any Lightning wallet, you can just put your npub at npub.cash, and you can just send sats to that wallet. Super simple without any setup. But there's this 200 token limit when redeeming, and that's implemented. But that's not a Cashu protocol limit. That's you're putting that limit on. Because QR codes would be way too large to scan with the QR code.
Yeah, also just the amount of data that goes through the wire, and even if you like want to copy the string wouldn't fit your clipboard.
That's where I was going with it. It would be too big for my clipboard?
It depends on your system, right? I like recently had that issue where I was trying to like send a Cashu token on Signal, and it fit my clipboard, but Signal was like, this message is too long. I'm not going to send it. I'm like, okay.
Too big for Signal.
Yeah. Okay. So and for everyone listening, like I'm like npub.cash is obviously like the homepage where you can learn a lot about the stuff. But I feel like the usability of using it, for example, in Cashu.me as like a Cashu wallet, because Cashu.me kind of feels like Lightning wallet.
Well, then you don't have to manually redeem.
You don't need to do anything. You just open a Cashu.me, you log in with your Nostr extension, and you have a Lightning address in there. And whenever you open the website, it will redeem the stuff automatically for you. So that's like the best UX there is right now, I think, for npub.cash. So you want to just like dive in.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I did that at one point. So like Cashu.me works better if it just generates a fresh npub nsec for you, right?
I use it with my personal one.
For
I use it with the Nostr extension.
okay, well, I lost 100,000 sats at one point
Okay.
from like the redeem thing. I found it. I had to do rescan. It's like in settings and stuff. And I took a deep breath. I figured it was there somewhere. But there's a little like I think the two interfaces get confused with each other sometimes because there's no way for npub.cash to know, right, if something's been redeemed or not. Is that
Yeah,
true?
so yeah, that's true. So basically what npub.cash does, as soon as you request the token once, it will mark that as redeemed basically. On npub.cash,
Right. That's what happened
there's
to
the
me.
history on npub.cash basically that shows you all the withdrawals. So you can on npub.cash you can go back and like re-display, resurface every single withdrawal that you did. So technically there should never be something lost. But Cash.me doesn't do that.
Yeah, it just wasn't shown in the UI.
That's
It wasn't
yeah.
lost per se.
That's also one big
Um,
change of npubx.cash, because npubx.cash will always
Yeah.
it will like just keep giving you whatever you already redeemed, and then you can basically on the API you can tell it only give me stuff that has been redeemed since this time, for example, and then we'll only give you the new stuff. But there's never anything deleted basically on npubx.cash. So
Got it.
better state management.
I guess that's probably what I should do going forward is just use it with cashew.me.
Yeah, and I encourage you
By
to
the way,
use
freaks, cashew.
sorry,
Yeah,
I
go on.
encourage you to use the npubx, even if it's marked experimental. We've been using it for quite a while now, and it is pretty stable. And
The setting within cashew.me.
yeah, and if you receive like a lot of zaps, it will still take some time, but at least it will be automatic. You don't have to like scan anything anymore. You just open the page, leave it open, and we'll redeem it. Because at some point the mint rate limits you, right? So you can only talk to the mint for so many requests before it says no. So it will just take a while, but we'll fix that. I promise.
I love it. I love it. Cactus Jacks, Zap 21,000 sats. He says live free. But it's not showing on the live chat on zap.stream because probably relays, like I said, but we will figure it out, freaks. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, to the freaks, you might be familiar with cashew.me because we've talked about it much at length. Callie's the maintainer of that, and it's super cool because it's a PWA, so no app store permissions. You don't have to. Callie doesn't have to like wait for the app stores to take updates or allow him in the store or whatnot. You literally just go to cashew.me in your browser, write down your seed phrase just in case you lose your phone or your browser gets wiped or whatever. And then you have a fully functioning Lightning wallet powered by Cashu. And as we just discussed, Cashu at npub.cash for a Lightning address, so you can receive Zaps. Awesome. How involved are you with the Cashew.me project? Do you contribute to that often, or
No,
is it
I built the npub.cash integration, the new one. I fixed a
right?
couple bugs here and there. It's not. I'm a heavy user, and I will let people know when I find something. I'm not too involved. I'm more involved with the general like cache ecosystem, I would say. So I'm working pretty much full time on cache stuff now.
What are you working on the Cashew side?
So I am. Well, it's a community driven project, but I'm like one of the core maintainers of Cashu.ts, which is the TypeScript implementation, client side implementation of Cashu, basically. That powers most of the Cashu apps that we see today. So Cashu.me is powered by by Cashu.ts. Minibits is powered by Cashu.ts. Pretty much most of the mobile wallets are powered by Cashu.ts. So I do maintenance there, and try to keep that project up to date with the protocol, which is like ever evolving. I try to do some protocol work as well. Try to contribute wherever I can. And recently I started reviving a Cashew app that was like super loved by the community. It's called eNuts. I don't know if you've tried it before. It's a pretty old one. It was one of the first major, like nicely looking Cashew apps that were there. And at some point the maintainer like moved on to different stuff. and left the project. And Cashu had a major protocol change since then, so it's not really compatible, and the use was actively discouraged. And now we decided to like revive it basically. And so I've been working on enuts for the last couple of weeks, trying to get it up to speed. But yeah, so I'm building a lot of like tools, Cashu tools, and tooling for other developers to make Cashu development easier. And I then try to use it myself. So, for example, I'm working on Cocoa Cashu now. Cocoa Cashu is like the batteries included TypeScript framework for Cashu. You don't need to do anything; it just does everything for you. You have like a very simple API, and you don't need to worry about how does the Cashu seed phrase actually work. How does it like make sure restoration works and keeping track of the derivation of the stuff like that. So I built that because
It does all the
it
hard
does
stuff.
all the hard stuff. It does like database management and everything. You just like let it know what kind of database you want to use. You need like an interface for it, and then it just goes. And I've been working on that only for like 2.5 weeks now, so it's very, very early. It's in alpha state right now. But I'm using it to drive the enuts development basically, because enuts was so old that I needed to rewrite all the Cashu logic anyways. I was like, okay, if I need to rewrite all the Cashu logic, I will like abstract it out into a package for other people to use. So now there's
And then you can just use Cocoa Cashew within
yes,
enuts.
that's the idea.
So it's like you kill two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
Yeah, enuts is what I used before Cashew.me existed. I mean, Cashew, I like, honestly, I stopped really experimenting that much in the Cashew ecosystem because Cashew.me is great and just like works everywhere.
And it's also very cutting edge.
Which is, I guess, benefit and a curse.
Yeah, that's really cool because
you always,
there's some
because he updates too.
yeah,
really
it
quick.
updates too. There's like a lot of new stuff. It's kind of like a testing ground a little bit as well. There's he always puts these things as experimental, so you don't like you actively have to opt into like stuff that's a little bit more like bleeding edge, but you can do, and it's really cool for that. And like Cashew is so fast, right? The pace is just insane, at which like new features getting added, and it's getting very, very interesting. Just recently, Bolt 12 was merged, so we're working on like getting Bolt 12 working with mints and wallets, and that's like obviously like opening up so super cool use cases as well.
Yeah, I mean, on the opposite side, I think it's iOS only, but I really like macadamia.
Yes.
Because it's the opposite of like experimental power user. It's just like super clean, straightforward.
Yeah, macadamia is super cool.
Interface. Just send, receive. Does macadamia use Cashew TS?
No, macadamia is Swift. All is like native stuff. There's no dirty JavaScript running in that. It's like the clean Swift
Fair
wallet.
enough.
But it's an awesome project.
I just opened macadamia and I didn't realize I had 900,000 sats in there. So I'm glad we had. It's very much a couch cushion thing. So many wallets, testing on so many wallets. Okay, I mean, I see a user question from Lon Tungir. Why don't you have a QR code on npub.cash/wallet for your address? Like a lightning QR code.
Is that something you would typically expect? Like, I don't think I've ever seen lightning address QR. I mean, like, LNURL kind of has it would make sense. But I think the goal, like the reason why we use lightning address in the first place, is that it's like kind of human readable.
So, well, it's not unless you pay. I mean, if you pay for like Odell at npub.cash, it is, but like it's not really if it's npub.1qny10a.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever. I don't have my. I think I kind of got my npub right there, but I don't have my npub completely memorized.
It would make sense for npub.cash specifically because it's not really human readable anymore. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we should have that. But I think with like npubx.cash, the idea is generally to drive people more towards using it inside something like an app.
Right, you're using enuts or macadamia or cashew.me, npub.cash, the interface is kind of just like to go there to redeem real quick or
Yeah,
whatever.
it kind of was also due to the fact that it grew so quickly. Like the front end was never supposed to be actually used. It was more of a, hey, I want to demo this. You want to like try it out real quick. At some point, like this is going to move into apps. Like, but here's the bare bones version. Like, and then
Right.
people just like started using.
And this you learned your lesson, and that's why npub.x doesn't have a front
Yeah,
end.
I mean, like with so the reason why I didn't want it is because it just works way better with all the state stuff, right? Losing sats. I don't want people to lose sats, obviously, right? It just works way better if it's like in an environment that is an actual Cashu wallet or has sophisticated wallet capabilities, basically. And so that's why I said, okay, npub.x.cash is not going to have a front end. But now with Coco, like I'm pretty much like putting Cashu wallets anywhere. So maybe there will be a front end at some point. I'm not promising, but I think it actually is like with the goal of Coco, if it turns out how I expect it to turn out, it's basically every web developer will be able to put Cashu wallets everywhere without having to worry about anything.
I mean, that's the dream,
Yes.
right?
And that's where it's super powerful at as well.
I mean, my vision is, and tell me if I'm absolutely crazy, but with vibe coding is like, well, you have Nostr login and Nostr comms, like Nostr identity and Nostr comms, and then you have Cashu, and then you can pretty much do payments, social comms in like any vibe coded app you want with very little overhead. That's the dream,
Yeah.
right? Just like it could literally
And I
be
think
nice.
it comes back to the thing that I said in the beginning with like public infrastructure, because Nostr and Cashu both offer these like public infrastructure stuff that you can just use, that are free to use, the mints and the relays. You can build any website that like does payments now, and it just uses the mints infrastructure to do the Lightning stuff, right? Actually, that was
Right. You don't need a Stripe API. You don't need a Twitter
yeah.
API. You can just off to the
Yeah,
races.
exactly. And that was actually, I did a workshop in Riga at the BTC about this recently, where I like within, and even without vibes, right? Like half an hour, you just spin up a website and you have a tip button there, and it shows you a Lightning QR, like a Lightning invoice, and you pay the invoice, and then it sends the sats over Nostr. So it does that obviously by getting an invoice from a public Cashu mint, showing the invoice to the user, and as soon as it's paid, it's gonna like create a Cashu token and send that as a DM to you over Nostr, and just works. Like you don't need anything, and now suddenly you are able to like receive tips anyway without actually having your own stuff.
That's awesome. What is your opinion on? I don't know. There's too many nips, but the one that Pablo's pushing that has the tokens are in Nostr. The tokens are in the relay. Do
The
you know what I'm talking
nutsack.
about? Yeah,
Yeah.
nutsack. What's your opinion on that? And like, where do we stand on that? Because I feel like people are very excited about it. I haven't really seen it work well in practice yet.
I think like the idea is very, very cool, because it removes the last thing that might be difficult from a infrastructure standpoint, which is the database. You need like to store your, because it's a bare asset, you need to store it somewhere. And as you said, you wipe your browser,
Right.
because you're like concerned about your privacy. For example, you wipe your browser storage. Oops, all the sats are gone.
Yeah.
So it solves that issue. But Nostr has an issue. Basically, it's like naturally with state, right? It's just like different. It's like difficult.
There is
There
no
is no
state.
like there's no source of truth. There is no single truth state, and that makes using it as a like money database a little bit difficult. Because if you go on Nostr and like some of your like nodes are gone, that sucks, right? But like if you go,
No one gives a
yeah, but
shit.
if you go on Nostr and like 50% of your wallet is gone because the relay where you stored that part is now not online or something, that's more of an issue. I mean, obviously, there's ways around that with like using backups and having better propagation and optimizing your relay list. And there's so much stuff happening right now with like local relays and Amethyst talking to 400 relays at the same time now. And so there's a lot of stuff that might make this better. But I think that is a little problematic about the nutsack idea. But it would be solvable. I just don't see the huge issue of like carrying a database around with you, basically. But for syncing, it's cool. I'm a little like 50-50 on it.
You go back and forth on it, I
Yeah.
can tell. Well, I mean, I think the dream is, I think the reason that makes it cool isn't necessarily storing a database, right? It's just if you could do it in a way that was UX forward, you'd have way better UX for new users because they literally would just need their NSEC. All they would need is their NSEC, and the money and everything else would just be handled by the relay network.
Yeah.
So you can imagine a situation where they start up, like no KYC, receive Zaps immediately. Maybe, if they're like a very basic user, the average user, like the NSEC is just stored in their iOS keychain. Like they're not even like backing up the NSEC, like Apple's handling that for them. And they just have like the full experience in a relatively sovereign way. I
Yeah.
think that is like the holy grail, Valhalla. We've done it.
Yeah. And I mean, like also like doing a live stream from your computer, for example, on Zapstream, getting Zap there, and then like going on a different device, logging into like Plebeian Market or something, and spending
Yeah.
the same sats there to like buy something. That's also like
With no
pretty
effort.
amazing. With no effort, right? Just like logging in. And so I definitely see the use cases. And that would be super
But
cool.
there's
I mean, like
limitations. It's still very
yeah.
early.
And there's other ways of like solving the sync issue, basically, but it's not like, so for example, there's this project, I think AGI Cash, they're like very early in alpha right now, I think. They do like server-side cache wallets, basically, and they do that like very securely using an enclave, basically, so they cannot rug you and other stuff. So it's like very, very sophisticated, but pretty cool. And they do it like server side, so like whenever you log in through a different device, you still have all your balance there, even though it is a bearer asset, but now it's not on your device, it's on their server, but in a secure way. But it like the Nostr identity stuff is like the cherry on top with the nutsex thing that just makes it super cool. If you can carry around your wallet with your identity, if we can solve that issue with the sync and the state, I think that would be super, super awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I see Forrest Zap 21,000 sats. Now that Primal added streaming, I'll actually watch you live. Thanks for all the knowledge over the years. Cheers. I'm pretty pumped about Nostr streaming. I think it's going to be fucking huge. Okay, next question for you. His next question for me for you is one of my biggest concerns. So I'm a huge Cashu bull. Like I think it's one of the most exciting tangential aspects of Bitcoin that has happened in the last decade. Like to me, like I look and it's like okay, I'm not the oldest person in the world, but like where have I seen like organic viral developer communities? And it's basically like Bitcoin, Nostr, Cashu. And Cashu is actually super fascinating because Fediment was kind of getting pushed first, the Fediment open source project. And then there was like a super well-funded VC business out of Fedi that was building on top of the Fediment project. And then at the same time, like Cali and various Cashu devs like came out of nowhere and were like, hold my beer. And you actually see the dichotomy of the two projects, right? Like there's similarities between them in that they both use Charming eCash and Bitcoin. But then when you look at like the actual developer community and iteration and improvement that's being made, like Cashu's on like a whole different level. But anyway, this is a really long-winded way of asking this question. In both situations, when I think about long-term adoption, I think one of the biggest limiters is like a thriving, competing mint marketplace. Like who will build the roads? Who will run the mints? And so then when I think of that, generally speaking, my belief is that we need to make it easier to run mints and run them in a privacy forward way. Not, for instance, like if you were like running it out of your home, you're like doxing your IP address to everyone. Maybe you live in a place where that would not make governments happy or something like that. So just high level speaking, like I think the easier it is to run a secure mint, the better. So that we'll have thousands of different mints that people can choose from rather than 5 or 6 that are holding the majority of Bitcoin. Me and Callie, like I've had long conversations with Callie about this, so I'm kind of curious on your opinion on that.
On who will run the mints, or like whether we should make them more secure? Like what's the question exactly?
No. So Callie, okay, so I'll spoon feed it because it actually is kind of
Thank you.
confusing my question. Callie is concerned about making it too easy to run mints because, and I think he's right on this front, is that like you do want someone who's running the mint to be relatively technical so that if something happens, they can troubleshoot it instead of okay, so I'll use Fedimint as another example. There were 2 large public Fedimints that existed about 6 months ago, 7 months ago, that basically rugged themselves. Like the users lost money, but also the Fedimint operators lost money because they had critical errors and they just couldn't solve those errors, right? And so they ended up in a situation where people lost money, but it wasn't like a traditional exit scam where like the operators stole the money. Like actually the operators lost more money than most of the users. And so that's Callie's concern in a nutshell. Like I don't want to like speak for him too much. But his concern is that if we make it so like my dream is that I got my start 9 here and I have a community of 100 people in my town and I just want to run a mint on my start 9, press go. They just scan an Onion invoice, Onion address or something, or maybe it's a Nostr native thing, and then they just connect to my mint, and then I'm their community mint operator. But I think Callie thinks we're very far off from that vision. What are your thoughts?
I don't. So I think it is very important to differentiate between me running a mint for like thousands of people, like in the whole world, and me running a mint for like my local community, right?
Yeah.
I think there's like far greater risks for the first case, obviously, in there. Like you should know exactly what you're doing. You need to know how this stuff works and how to replicate your database and stuff like that. I think for the local community, it's a little bit easier depending on, it always depends on your trust level with the people that use it, right? I think so maybe I'm too optimistic, but if you're like your Uncle Jim for like your friends and your local community, and everyone kind of knows and trusts each other, and you can like keep things a little bit like off protocol, you could probably always recover from a disaster, right? Because you still have your Lightning node, for example, and like I mean, like obviously there can be like cases where with like Fedi where like sats are like real because there's an unforeseen bug or issue and you actually lose sats. But then like the thing that is probably, or
Well,
at least from
Fedi's,
my point,
yeah, go on. Sorry, continue. I apologize.
I just wanted to say, like, from my point of view right now, probably the biggest risk for a mint operator is losing its database, because then basically you don't know
You
who
know
owns the
whose
money.
sats are whose. Yeah.
You know,
So it's a
so
different. So I used Fedimint as an example, but Fedimint's different because Fedimint is actually based on on-chain Bitcoin.
yeah,
While in Cashu, it's a single sig Lightning wallet. So like as long
yeah,
as you know how to operate
you
a
know,
Lightning wallet and not lose your money, a Lightning node and not lose your money, you probably won't lose the money as the operator. But you do
yeah,
have the issue of, how much sats does Paul have versus Chris or something.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But yeah, so I'm like I think we could get to that point quicker than very far off, like you just said. it definitely is reckless, and the question is like, who wants to take the risk, right? I
Yeah.
think Lightning was. I don't know if Lightning is still considered reckless, like officially, but Lightning was reckless for a very long time, and people used it and it worked. And sometimes people lost sats, and that's
I lost
very
so much
unfortunate.
Bitcoin in early days of Lightning.
See? But I think the benefits still like outweighed the risk for Lightning, and I think it could do that for Cash as well. So yeah, I think it's good to be careful, right? And I don't think it's wise to like just put the technology out and be like, yeah, go play with it. It's like I think Cal is actually right, like in
Right.
educating about the risk and be like, hey, be very careful with this. And it's like very early, and we still don't have all the edge cases and stuff. But I've seen with npub.cash that people actually don't care. Like npub.cash still has the big warning banner at the top, like this is
Yeah.
super reckless. Be very careful, and people just use it, right? People
That's
want
a
to try it
hilarious
out.
warning barrier. Warning,
So
this is a work in progress. Don't be reckless. No warranties are made, with two huge triangle exclamation point yellow warning signs.
yeah, I wanted to make sure everyone knows what's up and don't lose their sats. But yeah, so I think the warning also applies for like the cutting edge Bitcoin technology. Doesn't matter whether it's like Cashu or something else. But I see people still want to use it, and I think as long as people know the risk, they are free to do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
I think it's better if we like try to build software that is like somewhat safe than building software that's like super dangerous to use, and you need to be very like have a lot of
Right.
expertise to use it, to kind of gate it from beginners, because beginners will still try, and they will they will fail even harder.
Yeah,
So
beginners are like they fuck up in ways that you could never even expect.
yeah. So I think with like CDK, for example, I think CDK is something that will be very, very easy to use and Dockerize and just put out there and like just have like a working thing. I can very much envision this being like available on an Umbrel or like Star9 or something. And everything is open source, right? So if anyone feels like putting it on Umbrel, I guess you could just do that, right?
Well, there's
So
someone we're funding at OpenSats that is doing that. And Callie gave me his blessing. So when we were doing the review process, I mean, I'm not, our review committee was, and they're the ones who did the review, but we do ask subject matter experts for their opinions and references. And he's like building, I don't remember, we're funding like 200 plus developers. I don't remember the name of the project, but he's building like a command and control UI center. It's like you just run it on your Start9, like you pull up the interface, like shows you the mounts, it shows you your Lightning node, it
oh,
shows
that's Orchard probably.
what's the project called?
Orchard.
Our chat.
No, like the like trees, orchard, ORCHAD.
Oh,
Is
Orchard.
that it?
Yeah, like the trees.
Yeah,
That's
like
what it is. Orchard. Yeah. What do
yeah,
you think of that project?
that's super amazing. That's super cool.
That's
That's
what I
exactly what
want.
we need. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So that like if you combine that with like a Dockerized Mint and like LDK. So for example, like CDK, I've seen that happen, right? It runs on SQLite. It supports LDK as a backend. It's like it's ready to go. You don't need to do anything. You just run the Docker. Like
Yeah.
LDK is in there, and SQLite is in there, and it just works. And it's just like everything you need. So if we can make that foolproof, I mean, like I think making it foolproof is the thing that Kalle is probably referring to when he says like
Yeah.
it's gonna be a while. And I totally agree with that. Like making it foolproof will be very, very hard. But a lot of people are no fools, right? We can
Yeah.
make it way more accessible. And I think that would be a great future if like people could run. People did that with Ellen Bits, right? People were like
Right.
Uncle Jimming Ellen Bits for their communities. I think Cashu's more suited for this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was probably a bad idea, but I think the solution is and I visited this circular economy community in Brazil that was using LM bits, And I was like, you got to switch to Cashu. Like, but also I didn't have like a good recommendation for him at the time because we just weren't really there yet. But, and I do want to say, personally, I question using the term Uncle Jim for anything that resembles custodianship. Like originally it was, whatever. Memes are designed to live past their origin story, but when I originally started using the term Uncle Jim, which is just like gone through wildfire. And by the way, I do not have an uncle named Jim because I didn't want to dox my real uncle. So I just used the first name that came to mind. It's kind of crazy that people just say Uncle Jim now. It was supposed to be like an Electrum server or something. Like I still kind of question. I go back and forth on like whether I want to be holding my nephew's sats. Or like be involved in that financial arrangement. But if you're going to, like, I think Cashu is probably the best way to do it. It's just like, you want to talk about stakes are high. Like, yeah, if you're running a huge mint that has 20,000 users globally or something, which I don't think any mint has 20,000 users, but let's just say in success, like you probably feel a heavy responsibility. But even if you're running a mint for 100 users in your local community, it's like, you're seeing them around, like they're at the market and shit. They're like over your house. Like, you better not lose their money. Like, that's, in some ways, that's an even bigger responsibility. Because you're kind of like shitting where you eat, like you're like, that's like a real relationships there in person. Like I don't know. I go back and forth on it. I love Cashu. I think it's a very exciting project. I see Million Zap 42,000 sats. He says we're going to make it. I love the bullishness. I saw Cerebrum says he lost 30K sats while melting eCash, paying a Lightning invoice with Oxchat. Super Fat Arrow wants 1,000 mints to bloom. On the mint discovery stuff, let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why my who builds a microphone with a touch mute button where people fidget and move the microphone? It's just, whoever works at Shure that came up with that idea, like, you should be fired. It was a horrible idea. Anyway, mint discovery is the single biggest issue. I recommend someone Cashu.me, go to Cashu.me. What is their first question? Well, the first question is that they can't immediately receive sats because there's a big add mint button. And then their second question is, which mint do I choose? And Callie hates this question, but it's the biggest issue. So how do you think about it from an end user perspective? What solutions do we have? Mitigations, maybe no solutions. How do you think about it?
Yeah. So I mentioned before that I love to build like tooling for other Cashu developers. One of that is Cashu KYM, Cashu Know Your Mint. Know Your Mint is a term coined by Eric, a great UX designer that is working in the Cashu space.
I love Eric. Eric's good people.
Eric is good people, yeah. So he was in Riga. He was talking about the concept of Know Your Mint, basically discovering mints, seeing who's using that mint or who would recommend that mint, and also getting some stats about the mint. And we actually already have tools for that, right? There's a Nostr nip that I don't know the number out of my head, but there's a Nostr. I think it's 87, but yeah, not too sure. That lets people recommend Cashu and Fedi mints on Nostr. So you can use your web of trust basically to see which mints would your friends or friends of friends recommend. So that's pretty cool. So you can go to bitcoinmints.com.
NIP 87.
NIP 87, yeah, awesome. Yeah, so you can go to bitcoinmints.com, for example, and we'll just aggregate Nostr events and show you different recommendations and ratings. That's pretty cool. And then there is the mint auditor. That is not like for recommendations, but rather for like testing mints. So it's like you can it relies on donations, so people can just like put some money in, and then the auditor will like ping it around from mint to mint and mint, and always
I love the mint auditor.
That's super cool. It will record
it's like a
like
bank run
success rates.
protocol.
Exactly, right. It first of all, it checks whether the lighting implementation is actually real, so whether the money can actually go out again, but also it records like the success rates and all the speeds and everything, and then gives you this thing as like data back via an API. So with Cashu KOM, I combined the two basically. So you run a single command, basically, it's a JavaScript library. You run a single API, and then it will aggregate all the events from Nostr with the recommendations, and will look for like mint auditor data, and then it will like put them all together and give you a list of mints. It will they say like this mint was recommended by like 10 people, but its speed index compared to others is only like 60 out of 100, and its success rate is only like 81%. So you can like have all this information at one single in one single UI element, basically. So the idea is like if you go to Cashu.me in the future, you will not see that big add mint button, but instead it will be like, hey, here's a list of like 20 mints I found on Nostr, and here's some like neutral data about it. So you can make your own informed decision about this. Users might still not know what a mint is and what exactly what it does, but they will see, well, this is 5 stars and pretty quick. So, hey, or like use Web of Trust, obviously, to like mitigate Sybil attacks or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think the auditor is cool. So the auditor is what? Audit.833
Yes.
space. But also like, I mean, I feel like that just kind of points out like who are the really bad offenders. Like it kind of doesn't help you with like, I don't know, someone could be a good mint operator and then not be. Like there's always that situation. Or they could be like a particularly savvy malicious mint operator.
Yeah.
And get around it. It's just like these are like the really poorly run. Just avoid these at all costs. Like it really spots those really easily. So it does solve a piece. I think the Web of Trust stuff is super interesting. Like I've, reviewed mints and but then also like then they're kind of just like they're like, oh, like Odell's emojis, Odell's profile pictures, they're like he's endorsed this, so like kind of
Yes.
and then and then you're also you're these are tools that are still like useful for like medium to power users, right, who are like making an educated decision and kind of know what they're doing. I feel like we're still missing the piece of uh average Joe who's trying to get into Bitcoin, and I recommend him a Cashew wallet. Like my recommendation kind of has to come with a mint, and maybe that's okay. But I have to like guide him into and use this mint.
Yeah.
But I do wonder like if there's a, and I respect that Cashew devs in general are like really sensitive to this topic. They don't want to like make decisions for the user. But I still think in my head, a Cashew wallet that automatically has like an easy mode that defaults to a certain number of mints and maybe splits them up, like splits the balances up. Like there's a middle ground there that just makes the onboarding flow and UX much easier.
Yeah.
What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
definitely. Yeah, I see that point. I mean, like it is kind of similar to the Nostr stuff, right? With the relays, and like, do you really want? But it's like it's a little bit worse, I think, because like you're actually like choosing a custodian, not just like your network to relay your like shit
Yeah.
posts, right? You actually like value there. Um, so I think I actually support the like decision of most Casher devs to not like put that or like make that decision for the user. But I agree that we need to find a better solution for the onboarding flow. Just like a big list of recommended. I mean, like I see the issue with like the recommendations not being enough for the entry level user, but I always like compare it to like restaurant reviews or like Amazon reviews or something, right? When I order something that I have no idea about, if I want like in a city that I don't know, I'm looking on like maps for like restaurant recommendations, for example. I will like see a list of like a lot of like places, and then I will go by star rating, like, oh, Like
Right.
4.8 sounds good, right? Let's just do it. So I think I'm like I understand that it would be good, or like it would be better for the user to fully understand what they're like doing. But I think just from a UX perspective, like giving the user a list of like mints and then putting star ratings next to them and just letting them choose one also kind of works, right? I
But
know
you
it's not the
kind
best.
of, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot. I mean, I agree with you for the most part, but like you kind of did that with npub.cash, right? Like if which mint does it default to on npub.cash? Is it mini bits?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason
And
why npub.cash is awesome is
and
because
it needs to in order to work, right?
right.
Because otherwise you would because the whole value proposition was like this just runs out the box, no sign up needed.
Yeah.
If you would need to choose a mint first, well, there's your sign up, right? You need to like do some stuff, and then so with npubx.cash at least you can change it, right? With npub.cash
Right.
you
But it's
we
still
were like it still defaults, right?
I like
Yeah.
that. I support that. It in deliberate and responsible way. Like you still
Yeah.
I mean, there's kind of a corollary here with on-chain Bitcoin, but it's different because it's a different trade-off that threat model or whatever. But like one of the coolest things I think Sparrow did was it kind of solved the spooks running Electrum servers problem in the most simple, elegant way possible, which was he picked 5 Electrum servers that he didn't think were being run by spooks. And it just defaults to those 5 servers. Like everyone was trying to come up with like super complicated ways of like, how do you make sure that you're not connecting to an Electrum server that's trying to track you or feed you bad information or whatever. And he just like literally created a whitelist. It's like, you can choose any Electrum server you want, but by default, it's going to connect to Blockstream, mempool.space, like highly trusted, reputable things, reputable servers for the new user that has no idea maybe who Blockstream is or mempool or whatever. It's
I
just an
think it's
interesting
still
dynamic.
Yeah, I think like there's still a big difference though when you compare like this to Cashu, for example, right? Because what we try to avoid as well is like I mean like I think everyone that has used Cashu for a while knows that like mini bits is absolutely amazing. It's a great mint,
Right.
right? But like we also we're trying to avoid like massive honeypots, right?
Right. You don't want everyone to
So
use mini bits.
that would be great, right? Please,
Yeah.
not everyone. Like use different mints as well. Like spread out the risk and do stuff like that with like amazing stuff like multipath payments coming to like in being in Cashu right now. You like spreading across different mints is actually even
But
better.
that's what
So
I'm saying.
maybe
You could do that. But that's
yeah,
what my suggestion isn't. My suggestion isn't that everyone defaults to mini bits or like 3 or whatever, but like you could by default you could do I don't know, like 6 or 8 highly reputable mints and then split funds between them and then do multi-path payments from them. And then
yeah,
users can customize or at least like an easy mode or something. It's just when I talk to end users, like that's the friction point. The friction point is like, and it's right in the beginning. It just slaps them in the face. Is the add mint button and then choosing which mint. And best case scenario, it's like they're almost always just blindly following what I tell them to hit. It's like, okay, press the add mint button and then press mini
hmm
bits, and then they're off to the races. Like that's the flow that's actually happening in practice.
yeah. Yeah, but I think it's in Bitcoin, it's with a lot of things, right? Like seed phrases, for example. Like
Yeah,
I hate it that when I just want to try out something really quick, like new
yeah,
wallet, whatever, like I want to try it out and I say, okay, this is seed phrase. I'm not going to use the wallet anyways, right? It's like, okay,
yeah,
next, I've written it down, blah, blah, blah. And then it does the check. It's like,
yeah. And it
what
like
was point
blocks
eight?
screenshots and it like blocks copy paste.
And I'm like, oh, I just want to try this out. And now I actually have to get like pen and paper, write everything down, do
Yeah,
the check. But of course, this is great because if you don't do it, people will use that wallet with real funds, not just for testing, and they will lose it because they did not write it down or they said they would do it
no,
later or
but
whatever.
I mean, a lot of the good mobile wallets now delay that process. They don't do it right in the beginning. And I think that was probably a good UX win, right? It's um, I mean, like you wait and then you like notify the user like an hour after using it, or maybe there's a balance threshold or something. And then at that point, you pop up and you're like, okay, you got to write your seed down. You got to verify it. You got to do this. Are you sure you're happy with your mints? Instead of just front loading it all right in the beginning.
Well, that's actually a good idea. Like capping it at a certain value and be like, dude, now get off
Figure this
of
shit
many
out.
bits. Yeah, learn this
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Okay, I saw a question from someone in the chat. Let's see, where is he? I don't know. I can't find him now. But he said that he wants to become a Cashu dev. New developers that want to contribute to Cashu. What's your recommendation to them?
Yeah, that's awesome. I think one of the great things, or like one of the best things about Cashu, is that it's like Druck brain stuff, right? It's like super easy to get into, and there's like so much stuff to do. So basically, what basically I think the best thing to get into is like, first of all, you decide what you want to write, like what language is the stuff that, like, what is it you're currently good at, and then you just look for whether there is a project that is in the language that you prefer. Because with Cache, the great thing is it's such a vast ecosystem. There's probably already something being built in whatever you prefer. So you don't actually have to learn everything from new, or find something that like learn a new language or something, but rather there's probably already a project that you can just contribute to. So a great place to start is the Cashu BTC GitHub org, because a lot of projects are actually on there, so you can look there. There's cashu.space, which is the protocol's homepage, and it has a lot of links to like different projects and libraries for different languages and other stuff. So those are the two things that you could like look for resource-wise. There's a Telegram chat as well as a Matrix chat. Links to those are also on cashu.space, so you can get involved in conversation directly with other developers. And then once a month, there's a big Cashu monthly dev call that covers all the protocol development and all the other stuff that happened in the ecosystem since the last call, and also like has room for demos. So at the end, we always do like a lot of demos from everyone in the space, basically showing off what they built with Cashu. So I think these are the main entry points, basically, to get into Cache development.
Awesome. Contribute, freaks.
Yes. Yeah.
I see Soap Miner Zap 21,000 sats with a question. Are you familiar with Soap Miner?
Yes,
Soap?
I am.
Have you used his soap? Have you tried his soap?
I did. I saw that he was he posted about sending worldwide now. If you like hit him up on Nostr, and I was thinking about doing that because I'm not US based.
He's gonna regret doing that. Sending international is a pain in the ass. Maybe he won't regret doing it. Anyways, great soap. You should consider it. But he's asking, and I don't know. So Miner, if you're still here, it'd be great if you could add to your question. But he's talking about accepting Cashu on a WooCommerce site. I mean, the cool part about Cashu is that you could just accept Lightning, and then someone's using a Cashu wallet, they can just pay you. So I don't really know what that question means, but maybe wants to receive to a Cashu wallet.
Yeah, so I mean, like there's Cashu payment requests, right? So you can actually like use full on Cashu tokens to like directly pay. Because
like if you're offline, I could see.
Yeah, that was being offline would be one. There is the whole API stuff that you maybe have seen, the Cashu 402 basically using it as authentication. Routes does that, for example, with Cashu. So there's definitely like benefits of paying with Cashu, but I agree, in like an e-commerce style thing, especially because you want to have a lot of users being able to pay you using
with
the
little
Lightning
friction, right? You don't want to give them a bunch of different options. You want to just, here's your Lightning invoice, here's your on-chain invoice. That's it.
Yeah, during the hackathon in Riga, I built a POS system on Cashu called Peanut Pal, And actually, I used all Lightning in there as well. Like it was all based on Cashu, but like all the invoices that were visible, it's only Lightning.
You don't have to apologize, Soap Miner. You make the best soap in the business. I just want to answer your question properly. That's why I said it. Soap Miner said he doesn't understand Matt. My bad, still learning. Also, you zap 21,000 sats, so like, there's literally no dumb question if you zap that much.
To get to the question, there's
But what about the
actually,
point of sale thing? Let's talk about. Oh yeah, continue. Anyway, go.
sorry, I just wanted to say that there's actually like a BTC Pay plugin for Cashu now. So you
How does that
can
work?
so basically it first of all it offers the thing that we just talked about that doesn't make too much sense, like actually paying with the Cashu token. But the idea, and I'm not sure if it's in yet, but I know that is one of the things that it should do at some point, is you should be able to like host a BTC Pay server and use Cashu as your Lightning backend. I think that's like the
That would be
biggest.
awesome.
Yeah, I think that would
Because
be
then you're
super
not
awesome.
running a Lightning node or anything.
You just need the server. You just need the BTC Pay server, and Lightning is done by the mint. I think that's definitely the biggest thing to like biggest like goal to get here. And I think
because it's
BTC
actually
Pay
really easy. It's really easy to run BTC Pay with on-chain only, because on-chain wallets are super easy to work with. They don't have to be interactive. You can just like, you can literally get it directly to a hardware wallet if you want to. It's like spits out a fucking seed. Or you put your like npub in, super easy.
Yeah.
But receiving Lightning on BTC Pay server, especially for random Joe that's selling salami at the farmer's market, is such a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I think Cashu would be such a great fix for this. Just like connect to a mint, and whenever it needs an invoice, it just asks the mint for it. Basically, exactly what npub.cash does.
Right.
Right. And then you would like get an invoice from the mint, forward it to the user, and then check whether it was paid. And once it's paid, mint the Cashu to your own database, and that's it.
But
So I
instead
think
of
like
Lightning address, like Bolt 11, like just a
yeah,
standard Lightning QR code
yeah,
invoice.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I saw BTC Pay did do something with Liquid kind of in that regard, where it's like every Lightning payment's a Bolts swap, and
Mhm.
then you receive it via Liquid, which is also kind of compelling. I mean, I think Cashu would be even better in that situation because you wouldn't be using Bolts, or you would also wouldn't have to deal with then having Liquid BTC that you would have to then switch back on chain. But all these different things, I mean, I think are value additive. But the point of sale, first of all, Peanut Pal, you guys have the best names. All the nuts stuff.
Yeah.
Is Peanut Pal like more than just it was just like a hackathon MVP, or is that actually like a working project?
No, it's definitely not ready for production.
Okay.
So it would be way more polished if it weren't for so basically BTC hackathon was 2 hours. It was like vibe heavy hackathon 2 hours.
Got it.
So but actually it kind of works. I don't encourage anyone to use this, but because I needed the demo to work on like different devices, because it has like remote point of sale capabilities, right? So you can have the point of sale main device on your desktop, for example, and then you open it on a mobile phone and connect it, and it will connect via Nostr basically, and then you have like a remote device that can create invoices in the name of the main device. And because I needed to demo that on the for the hackathon, it's actually live. You can go to peanutpal.com and you can actually play around with it. But and don't, again, like I don't encourage you to like put any real money on it, because it will break at some point, 100%. But it's a cool MVP that showcases what awesome stuff can be built with Cashu. And I think, first of all, I mean, like the point of sale use case is something that Cashu really shines in, I think. But also, I think next to showcasing that, it also showcased how much amazing stuff can be done with Cashu within like such a short time frame. I mean, like obviously, I've worked with this protocol for 2 years now. I'm probably like well versed when it comes to Cashu, but it's not that difficult, right? There's like
Did
you
you
can
use
just go so
MK
fast.
Stack? Did you use MK Stack to vibe this?
No, I used it's pretty much everything is Claude.
Uh,
I didn't touch any UI code for this, by the way.
it's like
That's why it looks super
it's
generic.
It's a super generic vibe app. And I
Yes,
love
it
that the
is.
first thing, by the way, per our previous conversation, the first thing it asked me to do is write down my seed phrase. And I checked off, I wrote down and verified, and I pressed next. I did not write it down.
I'm not actually sure if I pushed the mint discovery, but maybe it even has the automatic mint discovery in
You
there.
did. You had automatic mint discovery. I clicked mini bits.
Yeah. Of course you did. What else? Yeah.
This is, I mean, I love the BTC Pay server project. I mean, personally, I've
Yeah.
been a big supporter of them. OpenSats has been a big supporter of them. I think, it's also, one of those foundational open source projects that is it's just really essential. But it has grown quite large at this point. And I do think there's a place in the market for selling, steak at your farmer's market, and you just need like a quick and dirty point of sale that just works, that just goes to your Cashu.me wallet. It's just like, and you just receive sats there.
So what you're
There's
saying is that BTC Pay server is gonna be the SAP of the Bitcoin world, basically.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
but open source.
Of course.
Uh,
No.
but yeah, I mean, it's like you just have to spend time. Like, no one's like, I don't think people are like necessarily like spinning up a BTC Pay server and then they're like off to the races. Like, you have to, like, you go down the rabbit hole and you look at through all the features and you tweak it and you iterate over time and you add this and you add that and you run a lightning node and you do that. And it's cool. I mean, you can run a Wasabi coordinator through BTC Pay server. There's just a lot of things going on there. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to sell 4 items on a point of sale and receive Cashu and then be able to spend it anywhere Lightning's accepted, and
that's kind of the idea with Peanut Pal, right? I think the use case of Peanut Pal is much more like the flea market than it
yeah,
is the like three like big business enterprise stuff that needs invoicing and everything. It's just like, hey, I have some stuff I want to sell, and at the end of the day, I want to see how much money I made, and that's it, basically.
yeah.
And don't jump through all the like hoops.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Tesla like used forked BTC Pay server to like sell cars for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like,
Yeah.
because it's like, and they submitted actually vulnerability reports or whatever to it, which is pretty cool. But there's like just 2 different use cases. Like, that's not the guy who's selling eggs at the farmer's market. Okay. This has been a great conversation. I would love to do this more often. I don't know, like every 6
I'm
months
down.
or a year or something. Okay, awesome.
Of course.
And but before we wrap, what are you most excited about right now in the space, Cashew or otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously it must be Cashu stuff, right? Getting Bolt 12 in is just a super cool thing. The velocity of the protocol, I mean, like I said this before, is insane. We're working super like not I'm not working on that, but like team is working on getting CDK everywhere. We're talking about CDK summer here, building like bindings to different programming languages for like CDK, the Cashu development kit written in Rust. And that kind of is the goal is basically to be able to put cache everywhere. Like if like Amethyst devs want to put it in Amethyst, it should be just like one single package that you import and then it's done. So bindings for everything is definitely something that I'm super excited for, because we will see so many Cashu wallets and implementations bloom from that. And then just like general protocol development. With Bolt 12, man, if like Bolt 12 had more adoption, we wouldn't need npub.cash anymore, right? People could just like put a Bolt 12
Yeah.
offer somewhere and then it would just work or something like that.
What's your opinion
So
on Bolt 12 adoption?
there's none, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been super hype. Like, I like it in practice.
I mean, like I remember that I was super. So I was running LND way back in the day, basically, and I switched to CLN because CLN had the like experimental Bolt 12 support, and was super hyped. And that must be like, I think 22 or something. And I did that, and ever since then, I've not touched Bolt 12 again.
Yeah, I mean, the dream of Bolt 12 is you don't have to run an LNURL server, a separate server for like the Lightning address, and the invoices are reusable. So basically, like I would just have like a string that if someone had that in their contact list, or I could have it attached to my npub, that they could just constantly send me payments. Like I think Nostr actually does kind of solve a little piece of that, which is like, okay, well, you have a reusable payment string, but like, how do I actually discover your reusable payment string? And that could be via Nostr. But yeah, we don't really have like, and these things take time, but like the end user wallet, I guess that's why it's important that you guys have support for it now, right? Like, I guess Cashu.me will be able to spend to Bolt 12 hopefully soon. Is that the plan? And receive?
Yes, I mean, like the client side is very, very easy. I think Mint support is what will take a bit longer because the Mint actually needs to do the Lightning stuff, right? So the Mint support is probably going to take a bit longer, but it's there and it's working. So with backends that if Mints actually upgrade, they would be able to support it and it would work. So that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong though. Like I don't think we can use Bolt 12 for Zaps if we want the social signal.
Why not? So you mean like putting it in your Nostr bio and then just like have people? No, that's true.
No. Because the best part of Zaps, the reason Zaps work, is because when Lon Tungir zaps 420 sats and says "Let's go," I know it's Lon Tungir that's zapping 420 sats and saying "Let's go" because there's a data exchange that's happening there, and then the Nostr receipt is being sent out. Can we do that with Bolt 12 too, or
no? And we shouldn't. We should like this should be cashew nuts. Like the spec is there, right? Nut zaps and nip61.
So you think we should switch to nut zaps altogether? Native cashew.
100%. Yes, 100%. Because it's, I mean, like it is in every aspect. It's like so much better. I mean, like I get the whole this is custodian and let's not open that box, right? It's like that's a whole different a whole different story. But because the reality is, and I don't know if like there's new updates on it, but like there was this pie chart once with like all the different Zap addresses that were used, and like I don't know, 40% wall of Satoshi or something, and like so let's not just for the sake of let's not talk about that, but like from the implementation standpoint, a NutZap is so much better than what we currently have, where like you talk to the Lightning provider and then it gives you back, and you give it an event and it signs it back and then publishes a different event. Like NIP57 is super complicated.
Right.
Like it's like so much moving
and
parts.
Sometimes the Nostr receipts aren't sent. The Zap receipts fail to send, or your relay doesn't pick it up. The other thing I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, right now we can't. There's no way for an external user to verify if a Zap is actually real, because the Nostr receipt broadcaster could just be lying about receiving a Zap. But we could probably do verifiable Zaps with Cashu, right?
Like 100% out of the box without doing anything. So if you have an Nostr post up and I lock a token to your public key and I just put it in the comments and write a comment next to it, that's the NutZap. There's a token there. Everyone that sees it, even though they not be able to spend it, can verify that this is a valid token.
It's locked
from
to
a
the
real
npub.
mint. And it's locked to the npub. It's not spendable by me. It must be 100% valid. It includes like smart cryptography that lets people verify this without talking to the mint if they know the mint's key sets. But they even could ask the mint whether this is unspent and real. And so it just works.
That for that alone, it's cool. I mean, I feel like every new Nostr user always comes up with the same idea. I've seen it click in their head a million times, which is like, well, what if we just had an algorithm that was, these are the posts that have gotten the most zapped? And as it currently stands, like if Nostr had any kind of significant adoption, that would be the most game stat ever. It already is somewhat gamed. But
didn't
it would be the most
do that in the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, he's our resident let's game things while we have 12 users. But yeah, he already gamed it. And there's no way for people to verify. And there's like, we could do lipstick on the pig stuff where it's like you whitelist certain LN URL servers, right? Like obviously, like as the operator, as one of the operators of Primal, like we know Primal isn't lying to Primal. So like if you're sending to a Primal address, like we know that there's actually some signal there. And you could have like a consortium or some shit. But I think that's what we're trying to solve against. Like we don't want to have that. That would be so right now in practice, zaps are like a cool signal, but like you got to take them with a grain of salt. But if we did it with Cashu, that seems really compelling to me. Especially, by the way, if we could store the nuts in the relays, then you just got the whole
I mean,
thing
like you can store the nuts in the device, right? I mean, like that would be the next step, right? But it even standalone, it solves the onboarding problem because you don't need the Lightning address. If you have an Nostr profile, I can send you a nut zap, and it's already part of the protocol. People should just implement it. I think it's in every single aspect. It is better than the current.
Well, this might be the first. That might be the first Nostr civil war over nut zaps.
There have been many. There have been many on GitHub already, I think.
Yeah, but the first major one. I mean that.
Yeah,
I mean it would be a big split on the client side.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
it would be a user facing war, right? Like
That's true, yeah.
it wouldn't just be devs arguing about protocol specs. It would actually be like I can't zap you or I can zap you. Okay, Egge, this is great. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as me.
Absolutely. It was a blast.
This is great, freaks. Thanks for joining the live chat. You guys make the show special. Thank you to everyone who donated sats. I appreciate it. You keep the show ad free, sponsor free. If you don't have sats to spare, the best way to support Dispatch is to share it with friends and family. Just open up their phone, go into their podcast app, press the subscribe, search Civil Dispatch, press the subscribe button. All the links are at civildispatch.com. Then they'll open up their podcast app. They're like, who the hell is Egge? What am I listening to? They have no idea what's going on, but hopefully it'll go through and they'll slowly start to figure things out and they'll test the things out. Next week, I'm going to do a show. I don't know who I'm doing it with. I don't know when I'm doing it. But I will line up a show for you guys and I'll notify you on Nostr about when that's going to be. Egge, final thoughts to wrap us off?
It was absolute fun times. Again, like I'm happy to come back anytime. If you are a developer, again, like look into Cashu. It's super fun to build with. And if you're a user, also look into Cashu. It's super fun to use. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your nights, guys.
Love it. Stay humble, stack sats.